This podcast contains strong language and discussions about relationships and sex. It may not be suitable for younger listeners. This is the Sex in Singapore City podcast, and I'm Nixalina Watson. Hi everyone! I'm back with another story time. I know it's been quite a while since I've done a story time, and I'm telling you, this one's fucking worth the wait. I have introduced some sex-focused episodes and then realised, actually, yeah, it's been a while since we did a little story. What I'm about to tell you is fucking disgusting, right? But all real. You can't make this up. You literally can't make this up. So you know, when you listen to it, you know I haven't made it up. Why am I telling you this story? I don't know. Because maybe you're having a run. Or, on the toilet, in which case, if you're on the toilet and you're listening to this, bad choice, my friend. Or maybe you're at the gym, or you're just chilling out and you fancied some light-hearted humour. It wasn't humorous for me, that's for sure. But it's been a few years, so I'm ready to tackle it. Okay. This one is called I Punched Someone Else's Flukes, Intestinal Worms, to Death on a Toilet. So, let me set the scene, shall I? I'm at work in London, and I work for a big company at the time. I'm going to try and avoid names. Quite a young millennial focused company. There's many floors, 7 floors in the building, many workers. So 50, like 300 to 400, 500 workers. There could be even more. I was on floor 5, but lots of people, and there's a reason I'm telling you this. Lots of people would tune in to different floors to go to the toilet, right? So sometimes people go down to 1 or come up to 5 or whatever. So lots and lots of access of different people to the bathrooms. So I go to the toilet. Got that image in your head? I go to the toilet and I flush the chain. And there's 2 black, tiny, miniature leech-looking things moving, stuck to the toilet bowl. And at first, I stand there, and the only reason I'm looking in the bowl is because I turned around to flush, as one does. Couldn't be asked to put the toilet seat down, so I just flushed it, and then just glanced down. And they're moving. And at first, I thought, is this a trick of the light? Doth my eyes deceive me? No, they're fucking moving. 2 of them. So I have to bend down, right, to get closer to the basin. I have flushed, so it's okay. It's still pretty gross, but the whole thing is gross. So we're at a level now. Let's roll with it. So I bend down on my knees, looking, and they're like wagging. Like imagine a tiny leech moving its tail. You don't know where the head is, right? It's also black. It's like they were half the length of my little fingernail. They were tiny, like a grain of rice is better to describe the size. And they were moving. So I don't know what to do at this point because as far as I'm concerned, these things have just come out of my body. Right? So my first instinct is to flush them away. But then I don't know what they are. And if they've come out my body, I should fucking know what's living in me. Bearing in mind, about a month before this, I just travelled back from Thailand and I'd been living on an animal sanctuary for 3 weeks, looking after elephants. So I was an elephant volunteer. So I've been in the literal mountains in the middle of nowhere, looking and staying and sleeping and living with animals. And I come back and then there's, 2 living things in the toilet bowl. So for me, I now have to deal with the idea that I can't flush these away because I need to know what they are because they've just come out of me. So I got some tissue And I scooped them out on the tissue. I got loads of tissue, not some, fucking loads, right? I think the whole roll was gone. Just wrapped it around my hand, and then just scooped these two mini leechy looking things out, and then put the toilet on the toilet top, right? Then I closed the lid, and then I just put it on the lid. And they were still moving on this tissue. I just couldn't believe it. And I was like, oh my God. And I didn't have my phone on me because I always went to the bathroom and my phone was at my desk. So I don't know what, I mean, like, they're moving. You know what? If I only had my phone, I could have fucking taken a photo or filmed them, and at least I could have shown someone, or a doctor shown someone, look at my intestinal worms. God. Anyway. So I do the only logical thing I can think of, right? Because they're still fucking moving. I need to keep them and show a doctor. That's what I'm thinking. Because I don't know why they're in my body and why they're in my toilet, but this has happened, so I got to fucking deal with it. So I wrapped the toilet roll up and I punched it. I punched it and I punched it. And I punched it, and then I opened it up, and they were both flattened and dead. Oh my God. Can we just take a moment? I'm in the fucking toilet, intestinal worms, which I didn't even know at the time that's what they were. I have no idea what these things are. They look like weird mini leeches. That's all I knew. We're still moving around when I fished them out the toilet bowl. Even though I've already flushed the chains, they didn't even go away. They stuck there. So I had to punch them to death in toilet tissue. This gets worse because then I got taken back to my desk, haven't I? Because I need to take them to a doctor. So I fold the tissue up, having punched them to death. And I put the tissue in my pocket. I go back to my desk. And then I'm like, what the fuck? So I'm like, I'm starting to feel really anxiously sick now. Because I'm like, I can't believe that's just happened. There's something living inside of my fucking body. So I pull my boss over. I've got to go home. So I pull my boss to the side. I said, I need to talk to you really urgently. So we go into a spare room. She is, by the way, now one of my best friends, one of the coolest women you will ever meet. And her reaction, what a gem. So I'm like, I need to tell you the truth. I think I've got like intestinal something, or I've got something living in me because, I just had to fish it out of the toilet and she was like, where are they now? I was like, they're in the tissue in my pocket. So she was like, yeah, I think you need to go to the doctor. Super chilled. Like, I could tell she was a bit taken back, but she was trying to be calm because I was an angst fucking mess by this point. So I then get a little tiny Tupperware box, put the tissue in there and close it up, and then got a train straight back home from work. I had called my mum. I was like, you need to come to the doctors with me. I was freaking out by this point. I'd like to think there's something living inside of me. And then I went to the doctors and made him look. So I had to like pull out the tissue, and he's like, what did they look like? And I was like, I've actually still got them on me if you want to see them. He probably thought like any other human, I would have flushed them away, but I didn't. I punched them to death and took them home. So I showed him, and he's like, yeah, these are flukes. Flukes. I was like, I don't know what this is at all. And he's like, they're intestinal worms. Well, they can also live, I believe, in your liver and your kidney and all these other places. I think maybe your lungs as well. I don't know. So we were talking, he's like, maybe you got it, if you were working with animals in Thailand. It sounds quite right that maybe there's a condition there. I don't know. I've got fucking no idea. I kind of like blacked out mentally at this point and let my mum take over because I was just registering what was going on. And then he said, what we need to do is do samples, like we need to do blood tests, we need to do urine samples and stool samples, and basically really nail down what they are, where they've come from, and then work out the treatment. And the treatment is a form of chemotherapy and radiation to kill them, I believe, and their eggs. Like I said, I kind of blacked out at this point. I heard the word chemo and I just freaked out. So I go home and I start making a joke about it. I'm preparing for the fact that, because I'm the kind of person that would make a joke about having to have chemo for having something living inside of you. Because when I don't have anything else, I've got fucking humour. So I started like, I wonder what me and my flukes want to eat for dinner tonight. And patting my stomach in all sort of, in hindsight, it's terrible and my sense of humour is sick. But so I kind of, I was like going around saying, I've got like a colony of other human mini things living inside of me. Not human at all, obviously, more alien. And kind of getting my mind over the idea that I was going to have to start having some weird radiation chemo on my body. And he said it's like chemo, but not, it's very different. But it's like a radiation form to make sure we kill off all of it that's in there. So I go and do my samples, my tests as requested. They all come back normal. They all come back fucking normal. So do you know what this means? What this means, my friends, is that those flukes were someone else's intestinal worms. And the person who'd used the toilet before me, because I didn't bother fucking looking in the basin when I first went in, I just sat down. I went into autopilot. I just sat my fucking ass on the toilet, as I think most of us women just do, because, I don't look and observe beforehand. Maybe if I had, this story wouldn't have fucking happened and wouldn't been so gross. But someone else clearly left them because they were clinging to the toilet bowl even after I flushed. So that means they were from someone else's body, and I fished them out. I fished someone else's intestinal worms out and punched them to death and carried them home that had been living inside someone else's fucking intestines. Fucking awful. Even saying it out loud makes it even worse. And you know what? I checked the toilet bowl religiously for months and months, even like up to a year after that, because I was like, maybe they are mine. They're not. They were not mine. I've never had a problem at all. All of my results come back normal. I even had a full health screening check when I first moved to Singapore. Everything is fine. They were not my flukes. And that is the end of that story time. I hope you all recover in time. Thanks for listening to the Sex and Singapore City podcast. This episode was produced and hosted by me, Nixalina Watson, and recorded at the Splicecast studio in Singapore. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, and all major podcast listening apps. Do subscribe for a new episode every single week. Please do give us a 5-star review. It helps other people find our podcast. We're also on social media with Facebook and the Gram. Don't be shy, send me a message and come say hello. For more information and to read more articles, please do come over and say hey at sexandsingaporecity.com. That's sex and and singaporecity.com.